Alright, so we have our prototype cell set up. We have our table view here. We have it set as the initial. So now what we need to do is we need to connect these cells or these outlets to our file, so our idea table view cell file. So this is exactly like we've done before. We just go ahead and control and drag and create these properties. So the first thing I'm going to do actually is do a mark here and just do properties, create some space, and I'm going to control and drag. You can definitely control and drag from within storyboard, but I like to do it from the document outline. Okay, so I'm going to give this image view a title, so I'm going to make it pretty simple. I'm just going to do photo image view and click connect. Instead of forcibly unwrapping this, I'm actually going to do a question mark just in case there's like possibly an error or something. I don't want to mess around and have it give me issues. Okay, the next thing is the label. So this is going to be a name label. Connect that. Again, make this optional as well. All right, and the last thing is the text view, which is going to be a snippet of the content. I'm going to decide how many characters or words to actually have show up. So let's just call it a snippet text view. Click connect, and again, make this optional as well. Okay. All right, let's delete some space here. Okay, great. So we have everything connected. Just double check when we do. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, and if you noticed actually, the names of my outlets changed based off of what I named it, which is awesome because basically just added some spaces in between. So again, you don't necessarily have to change the name of your outlets in here. You can if you want to, but Xcode is pretty smart in realizing, okay, that's the name, so it'll add it for you. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we need to add a view controller for our table view. So the next thing we need to do is basically just add a file. So again, right click on the project folder, make sure it's iOS, Cocoa Touch class, click next. It's already set for TableView, but actually, here, I'll show you. I'm just going to do something like this. Okay, so I want this name to be idea, and then I'm going to select TableView Controller, and again, it just tacks it right on, which is what I want. Go ahead and click next, and then create. Okay, so it's in here. Let's drag that up. I'm going to drag it above the TableView cell file. And you don't have to do that. It's totally up to you. Okay, so what we need to do in here is we need to basically create some initial data, so some sample data to make sure that this is working correctly. All right, so the first thing we need to do is implement our TableView controller. I actually want to have some sample data to appear to make sure that everything is working. So let's first create a property. So I'm going to do another mark statement here. And this is going to be properties. Okay, so I needed basically a bucket to hold all of my items. And in order to do so, I need to actually create an array. So let's create an array. So we do var, because we do want to change. And let's call this ideas. And this is going to be a property of idea. And I'm going to just initialize it, get it ready to use. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is and this is just a temporary type of thing where we're just going to test some sample data. We will eventually completely delete this entirely further along once we get everything implemented. But right now it's all about testing it and making sure everything works. So in our viewDidLoad method, let's add our sample data function or method. So I'm going to do load sample ideas. Okay, so this should give us an error message because I actually haven't created the method yet. And there it is. It's saying, okay, I don't know what this identifier is. So let's mute that. So down here, let's do another mark statement. And I'm just going to call this sample data, just so you can see that once I get it created, it will stop with that annoying message. All right, ideas. Actually, I need to go to the front, make this a function or a method, and do the curly brackets. And once I hit save, that arrow disappears. Okay, so now that we have it created, let's add some sample data. So I need to create some instances in order for it to load. So we have 3 photos that I'm going to add to this. So I have some photos here. Let's go to our supporting files and assets. And I've actually already added them to my asset. So basically all you do is literally just drag it over and you can save it. I had been starting with a Z. Actually, I'm going to undo that. Just so that I know, okay, this is a sample. So, okay, so they're all starting with Z's. You can name them whatever, you can add whatever photos you want to in here. I think 2 of them are JPEGs and 1 is a PNG. But again, just pop some photos in there that you want to use. Let's go back to our UITableViewController and let's create some sample data. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is, the first thing I want to do is go ahead and import the photos. So I'm going to do let photo 1 equal UI image named, and then the travel, and I'm going to do all the other ones. So I'm just going to copy and paste and make edits as I go. It's not a very descriptive name, but you know, that's all right. So we do have some warnings here. Basically, it's saying that we're not using it. Well, we will be using it. So let's create an idea. So I'm going to use a guard statement just to be sure that if anything horrible happens, that it doesn't completely crash. So I'm going to have this equal to idea, and here is where I'm going to enter in all the information. Okay, so name, I'm going to do number 1, so it's travel. So let's just do travel idea. It's not very descriptive, but you know, it's okay. All right, and so another thing I'm going to do is, let's open this up real quick. I'm going to download some dummy text. So if you go to Hipsum, I like Hipsum because it's hilarious to me, and it gives some really good, you know, number of paragraphs and stuff like that. So I'm going to actually just copy and paste some text in here. I'm going to do a new line here, and if you realize, you'll see when I do new lines that this will actually break, which is what I want. And then the image will be photo 1. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do here is just do copy and paste again, because I don't like to spend a lot of time doing stuff. So let's do an else statement real quick, and just in case this fails, we're going to give a fatal error and a description. So let's see, unable to instantiate idea 1. Okay, so that should satisfy my issue here. Okay, so it's saying it's not going to be used, but it will be shortly after we get all of this entered in. So I'm going to do the second and third one. Okay, so now I have my 3 sample ideas entered in here. So the next thing I need to do is I need to bring in, or actually send the array that we created up here to hold our ideas. We need to send the sample data into it. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to do idea plus equals, and then I'm going to do idea 1, idea 2, and idea 3. Oopsie, it's just the ideas. Okay, there we go. So now I'm inputting all of these sample data into the array called ideas. Finally, what we need to do in order to display our sample data here that we just created is we need to implement basically our data source methods. So our data source methods are number of sections is the first one, and then the second one is number of rows in each section. The third one that we're also going to be touching on is cell for row at. And if you notice, it is commented out. So let's go ahead and uncomment it because we do need it. Okay, so in order to display dynamic data, basically what the table view needs is 2 helpers, data source and delegate. So that's why we're implementing these 3 methods, is basically for the data source. Basically what a data source method does is it provides or supplies the table view with data if it needs, that it needs to display. The delegate, on the other hand, helps the table view manage cell selection, row heights, and other aspects that are related to displaying said data. All right, so these 3 methods, and if you want to learn more about them, just hold down the Option key and hover over it, and it'll tell you everything it needs to know. So basically this number of sections, it asks the data source to return the number of sections in the table view. Right now it's set to 0, which would be incorrect. It's incomplete. Basically you want to return at least 1 section, 1. So in my case I'm going to return 1. In other cases you might have multiple sections that I might return. And then the next one is number of rows in each section. So basically this tells the data source to return the number of rows in a given section. Now how are we going to get this? Well, we're going to use code to get the number of rows because we don't want to hard code this like we did up here with number of sections. And how we're going to be able to determine the number of sections or number of rows to return in this section is we're going to count the number of elements that are contained within our array of ideas up here in our property. So one way we can do that, so it has to return a integer, as you see here. So we have to return an integer. If we do ideas.count, this will return an integer. As you see, it's int. So that will tell the table view that, hey, there's going to be a set number of rows based off of how many elements are in the array. Okay, I'm actually just going to make this a little bit easier to see by bringing down the curly brackets. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete some of these comments because they no longer apply. All right, so we'll go ahead and save our information here. All right, the next video, we will configure the cell here for cell for row at. And again, if you hold down the Option key and hover over, you can find out what this is. So this basically asks the data source for a cell to insert at a particular location of the table view. Wow, that's so descriptive. So basically it's just saying, okay, what information is available to insert for the things, the outlets that are in our cell. So in this case, this will provide or configure the cell that we have implemented here. So it will set the photo, the label, and the snippet for us using this prototype. Okay, so again, we'll cover this because there's a little bit more code involved with configuring the cell. So I'll cover this in the next video, so stay tuned. But if this video has helped you at all, just give it a thumbs up. And as always, subscribe if you want to stay tuned. And definitely hit the notification little bell thing if you want to be notified when I upload something. Other than that, my friends, keep calm and code on.